In this section, we will study the part of the 5G network architecture and try to understand the different network elements called network functions and what are the function of each unit of them. If you give a look at the slide, you can see that we have in the upper part of the slide the 4G network architecture or LTE, and in the lower part we have the architecture of 5G network. You can notice that the changes are at the core level. Those are the major changes that accompany the shift from 4G to 5G. In the LTE network, we have the user part or the user equipment, and then we have the radio part, the UTRAN, and then we have the core part composed of HSS, MME, SGW, and PGW. The 4G Evolved Packet Core, EPC, is significantly different from the 5G core. With the 5G core network expected to be a cloud-based system that is based on the service-based architecture or SPA, which is the flexible interconnect, with a target to make it more scalable and flexible. Among the other changes that differentiate the 5G core from the 4G are the user plane function, UPF, to separate the packet gateway control and user plane function as part of the concept control and user plane separation. Also, the access and the mobility management function, AMF, to segregate the session management functions from connection and the mobility management tasks. As we mentioned before, to migrate from 4G to 5G, this will require gradual steps by moving to the non-standalone mode and then going to the standalone mode of the 5G architecture. And this, of course, based on that the operator is not deploying the new standalone 5G network from scratch. In this table, we have a comparison between the different core functions in 5G and the corresponding network elements performing the same functions in LTE. First, we have the AOSF, and the corresponding network element in LTE is a combination of EUC and HSS. So they are performing storing for data for authentication of user equipment. The second network function in 5G is the UDM, Unified Data Management, and the corresponding one in LTE is HSS. So the function of UDM and HSS is storing the subscriber data and the profile. The next network function is UDR, and the corresponding is a single SDB UCDB. And the function for those network functions is that they are storing all the data related to subscription, policy, and more data. Next, we have the network function in 5G is AMF, and the corresponding one in LTE is MME, and it's performing user equipment based authentication, authorization, registration, and mobility management. In 5G, we have network function BCF, and the corresponding one in LTE is the BCRF, and they are responsible to perform policy control of user data based on the service and the access. Then we have the SMF in 5G, and the corresponding is the MME, SGW, PGW, and the function is to perform session establishment and management, and also to select the UPF, the user plane function. Then we have the UPF, and the corresponding in LTE is the PGW and SGW, and the function of it is to perform packet routing and forwarding. In this table, we have some core functions in the 5G which are new introduced, and we don't have any corresponding functions or network elements in the LTE which are doing the same function. The first one is the NSSF, the network slice selection function, and this one is responsible for network slicing. The second one is the UDSF, which is the unstructured data storage function, and this one is responsible for storing and retrieval of unstructured data. Then the NEF, network exposure function, and this one is exposing the network to third party in a secure way. Then we have the NRF, and this one is responsible for repository function, which is allowing discovery between different network functions. And the last network function, which is new introduced in the 5G, is the AF. And the application function is interacting with the 3GPP network to provide some services. And here, a list of the references that you can try to visit in case you need to get more information and more details about the different topics that we are discussing throughout the course.